Hello and welcome to the last class of this week, class number 5 of Video Editing Technical Workflow online course. Yesterday, we spoke about in detail, a little bit detail on codecs. We saw what is bit rate, bit depth. We explored things about resolution. Today, at the end of the first week, we'll have two sections of this class. First, in the first section, I will explain the PDF file about the storage and the specifications of the hardware, and what, not just the specification of the hardware, but what do this hardware mean? Why we need these things and what do they do? So a basic understanding a professional editor should know. So that is what we are going to do today. We are also going to understand about storage and how different storages are used and how video editor should handle storage. And in the last part, we are going to recap the whole week. Whatever we have done in this week, we will recap the whole week, and I'll tell you about the plan of this weekend and the next week also. So let us start with today's class. Today we are going to talk about editing hardware and storage. Hardware, like you need a software, you also need hardware to edit videos. Some of the hardware, some of the basic things we all know what are these things, but we will understand those things in detail this time. So the first thing, you should refer to the PDF also that is uploaded in the Google Classroom. The first thing that we need to know about hardware is the CPU. What is the CPU? Central Processing Unit. A CPU is called the heart of the computer. Some people call it itself the computer. Some technical people, some computer repair guy, they will name the CPU, they will address the CPU as computer. When sometimes some of the repair guys, computer repair, hardware repair people, they are like, computer has gone bad. Technically speaking, the CPU has gone bad. The central processing unit, the name suggests that it centrally processes all the data and all the workflow of the system. The hard disk, the devices attached, the RAM, and other things, devices, monitor, keyboards, I will come to them one by one. All these are processed at the central place, which is CPU. There are 6 types of CPU. Single core, dual core, core to duo. Dual core and core to duo are put in the same category. I will explain this. Then quad core, hexa core, octa core, and deca core. Core is a part of the processor. So you have 2 cores. The data is channelized into 2 different cores, and the processor works faster. This is a simpler understanding to have. So a single core computer can perform tasks only one task at a time. The single core computer cannot, if you put multitask into the single core computer, it will drastically, the speed and the performance of the computer will go down. It is not going to sustain. Dual core, it is the same, single core made into 2 channels. So dual core processes a bit faster than the single core, but it is still not advisable for video editing, at least for today's, especially for nowadays footages when we have HD, 2K, 4K footages. Full HD footage will be problematic on dual core computers. HD and below HD things can still work. Core to duo has 2 cores. Then similarly, quad core has 4 cores, hexa core has 6 cores, octa core has 8 cores, deca core has 10 cores. So i5, i6, from i6, i7, it is 6 cores. Now, I have given just the introduction of the first hardware specification. So you have got the idea of how this class is going to go. Now you need to understand one important thing here, that why we are doing this class. This class, again, each and every class that we are having here is going to separate you from an amateur editor. It's going to make you as a professional, show you as a professional editor, and if you practice, you will become a professional editor. Suppose you get a job, or one thing, this hardware and all the storage you need to know. As an editor, it is your job to know all those things, and you also need to build your computer for smooth editing, for professional editing. But In professional environment, if you're hired in a studio and if the studio is new, or maybe some other new person want to enter into this industry and they hire you and they ask you, you tell us what should be the editing setup of the editing studio. You are the editor. So you cannot tell them that no, I can just edit videos. I have no idea about the editing specification and editing hardware. Aesthetics, ability to edit, knowing of the technical things inside the edit is enough for editing. But you need to have a complete understanding of the editing industry and hardware, software, aesthetics of editing, technicalities of editing. This all encompass the worker who is working in the film editing industry, video editing industry. You cannot tell them that I do not know. You have to know. It is your job to know. So that is why with this video editing technical workflow course is very important, because see, aesthetics, you cannot be taught aesthetics. Aesthetics we can guide you. How we teach aesthetics in our offline classes, that we give footages to the editors. We give them a brief that this footage, you have to save the acting, you have to correct the sound, you have to create comedy, for example. The editor has to achieve that. He has to edit out the bad parts of acting, bad parts of camera, bad parts of direction, make a story on their own, do all the technical things that we are going to learn in future in this class, color grading, sound, everything, and create the story. And then we screen the film here at the screening room and we give direct real-time feedback. This is how aesthetic is developed. Now this guy who has made the film, he or she will screen the film and get humiliated. That is the only way to learn film editing. That is the only way to learn aesthetics of film editing, aesthetics of filmmaking, right? So aesthetics cannot be taught like this, like a teacher sitting and you jotting down notes. It comes from practice. In Urdu, there is a word called riyaz. So riyaz, the daily practice, will make your aesthetics grow, right? But no one is going to respect the art inside you. No one is going to respect, no one in the sense I'm talking about industry people, film industry people are not going to respect you if you are technically weak. If you do not know about all these subjects that we are talking about here in this class, you will not gain respect of your colleagues, of the employer or your client, whichever line you are working in. That is why you might find it technical or some gadget listing, but it is important to understand, and it is important to understand each and every hardware piece that is used to edit your videos, that is used for building up a editing system. So first thing is CPU, central processing unit. It processes the data. It processes the data into digital, electronic to digital, digital to electronic, and it brings whatever calculations and whatever computing you are doing to the computer. Now, one more thing I would add, that I was explaining why this was important. One more thing I will add, that I have given a term, I call some people gadget snob. There is a gadget snobbery around, that I have this kind of drone, I have this kind of Osmo, I have this kind of panel, this kind of this. Yes, very good. If you can afford it, you have this equipment, very good. But having the equipment doesn't make you a film editor. Having just the equipment doesn't make you a good filmmaker. So it is not imperative that you have to have the best of the equipments, the costliest of the equipments. Today we are going to talk about all types of equipments that have. Now, according to your project, according to your budget, you are going to explore which exact model you want. We are not going to talk about various models of these equipments. We are going to talk about the core science of these equipments. What are these are, so that you understand which model to buy. Even if new model will come in 2024, 2022, you will know what I need to check in this in order to buy this monitor or this keyboard or whatever, hard drive, hard disk, whatever we need. 6 types of CPU, minimum core to DO you need. You cannot go for single core and do not go for dual core also. Minimum core to DO, but today it has gone ahead and iGen, i5, i6, i7, these quad core, hexa core processors are available. And if you can afford, you should go for it. Otherwise, quad core is also good for HD and 2K. You can also use quad core, you can use full HD and 2K. You will now understand from yesterday's class about 2K, 4K and other things. And dual core is also good for HD. 1280 by 720p resolution, that is also good. It also depends on the container, as we have seen yesterday about the codec also. Second thing is RAM, random access memory. What does RAM do? What is RAM? Random access memory. So you know, everyone knows that RAM is of 4 GB or 8 GB or 16 GB. 4 GB is minimum for editing. I will explain why this 4 GB, 8 GB thing. 4 GB is minimum for editing. 8 GB is good. 16 GB is even better. Higher machines with cinema footage, they have 32 GB, 64 GB RAM. Those are very fast and heavy machines because the footage is also very heavy, DCP footage we are getting. RAM, random access memory. At a given point of time, whatever you're using Google Chrome. Google Chrome is an application which takes up huge amount of hardware space, huge amount of RAM memory. You are using Google Chrome, you have opened Adobe Premiere also or FCP also on your computer, and you are importing footage. At that moment, whatever the computer is doing, it is in the RAM, in a simpler language if you want to understand. So random access memory, randomly you can close this window and randomly you can click any window and it will open up to you because the CPU has directed RAM to store that memory for that time. So a longer period of editing where you are where you are adding on footages, you are downloading something from the Chrome, you are making the cut, you are changing the footage, so your render file is also getting changed. RAM, if you have a 4 GB RAM, already all the space, the current working space is filled by it, and that is why it becomes slow. So if you cannot afford 8 GB RAM, suppose I am telling 8 GB RAM is also pretty much cheaper these days and standard for video editors. But if you do not have an 8 GB RAM, you have a 4 GB RAM, so you need to know that I need to close Chrome. Simply, I need to close other applications. Only my video editing software will work. Even then, I will add on a limited amount of softwares. I will not perform everything. I will edit something, I will keep a backup and I will edit the fresh thing again. I will not keep the whole timeline and the whole RAM is engaged in that timeline. No, I will not do that. In 4 GB RAM also perfectly smoothly I can edit. I hope you understand my point, what I am talking about. It is not about the machine, it is not about the device, it is about how you use it. So if you're using RAM, you make sure you have a smaller space RAM, you make sure that you have total focus on only one task and a simple task. First is CPU, second is RAM. CPU processes all the data, it connects all the devices, it runs the computer, it is the heart of the computer. RAM is the random access memory. At the moment, whatever you are working, it is happening in the RAM. If RAM doesn't store all these images, you cannot access all the footages, all the computing things, whatever the computer is doing. Third important thing that is needed is graphics card. Graphics card is also sometimes called VRAM, video RAM. Same thing. Why video RAM and graphics are same thing? Whatever image you are able to watch, any kind of computer if you're watching, not TV, this is also a kind of a computer, your laptop, and mobile phone is also a kind of a computer. Two kinds of graphic cards you can have: inbuilt graphic card and discrete graphic card. These graphic cards are responsible for the projection of the image on any kind of computer. If there is no graphic card, the image cannot be projected, the video you cannot see. The graphic card is also like RAM, it has spaces 1.5 GB, 2 GB, 3 GB. And again, the same thing, if you have more heavy resolution footages, you need bigger space graphic cards, costlier graphic cards. If you're editing HD or lower, you do not need 1.5 GB or 2 GB graphic card is enough. So there are various companies, Nvidia, Intel, various companies, they make graphic cards. But you need to understand, you need to see your budget, you need to see what kind of work you have. If you have 4K, 2K footage to edit, you should go for higher graphic cards, better performance graphic cards. And you can, if you have just one project, you can attach externally also graphic cards for just that project. You can rent it out or you can buy it, purchase it, use it whenever needed. So you can suggest the studio owner if there is one that these kind of technique. So this kind of technical things, when you are suggesting people will know that you understand it. You are not just a mechanic, you are an engineer. There are three types of technical people. One is a scientist, one is an engineer, and another is a mechanic. Mechanic just replaces the part. An engineer, now this is valid in the software also, not just the hardware. An engineer, if something is not working, he finds a way out according to the law of science, and the scientist is the one who creates the laws, or who finds the laws, who discovers the laws of the science. Ultimately, in one sentence, if I could say, this makes you professional, look like a professional editor if you know all these things. So graphic cards is also important. All the computers have some inbuilt graphic cards, but for video editing purposes, sometimes you might need some external also, that is called discrete graphic cards. There are inbuilt graphic cards also. Both have this space issues. So 1.5 GB, 2 GB are the normal inbuilt. Sometimes 1 GB also you get in some Windows or in some lower version Macs, student version Macs also. CPU, graphic cards, RAM. These are the first things that you need to figure out. Now your computer is ready. This computer you can attach anywhere, any monitor or a projector or a home theater, and you can start editing your video. Let us come to the monitor now. Now monitor, there are 5 types of monitor. CRT monitor, we have already discussed in the past, cathode ray tube, picture tube, that was called. LCD monitor, which is used, very much used now. Liquid crystal display, LCD monitor. LED monitor is light emitting diode. Fourth is OLED, organic LED, organic light emitting diode monitor. This monitor is made with carbon and organic materials. The screen of it is organic. Then the last one is plasma monitor. Plasma monitor is made up of plasma material. Fluorescent lights we can see in that on the screen of that, and it gives much more. Each and every pixels is illuminated with RGB in the plasma monitor. So any monitor you can use, not CRT. CRT is gone now. Generally we use LCD monitor. Whatever monitors are right now we are going, because it is light, it is flat, it takes less space, and it works also very smoothly and efficiently. Generally LCD monitor is fine. Where the monitor plays an important role, most important role monitor plays during color grading. But professional editors can overcome an uncalibrated monitor also. When we come to color grading part, and we will learn using video scopes. So we will not be on the mercy of a monitor to check the color, on the mercy of our human eyes also to check whether the color is going right or wrong. So monitors are mainly used for color grading. Calibrated monitors we need for color grading so that the colors are right. But we are going to learn a technique during the color theory class, that how we should use the video scopes, waveform, vector scope, RGB parade, to understand how the colors are coming up and how the colors we are matching up or not. So even if we do not have a calibrated monitor, I will teach you how to check and give an output of the right calibrated color system, the footage with the color system. So these are the 5 basic types of monitors, and LCD monitor is mostly used. Acer is very popular amongst newcomers and students. You can go ahead with Acer. Things which depend is that how many inches it is, LCD monitor, even LCD monitor, how many inches and what resolution it is. You do not need, this is a common, very amateur misconception, that you need 4K monitor to edit 4K footage. No, you do not need 4K monitor to edit 4K footage. You need a fast processor. You need good RAM, you need a higher graphic card to edit 4K footages. Any footage, your projector, your television, if you can connect your laptop or your computer to your television through HDMI and other cables, every monitor can play 4K footage. Okay, when you are editing, it doesn't matter that you have a 4K monitor. You can have a simple monitor. It depends on your computer. It depends on the CPU, RAM, and the graphic cards that I was talking about. Next thing is the keyboard. Now keyboards are 3 factors. I will not, there are many keyboards. 3 factors are needed because when you start editing and you are editing daily, if you become a professional editor, you have to edit daily. This is your job, right? Your hands have to think. Professional editors, hands think. Like before you think of a thing, of what to do, your hands will think and they will work. And this is not a surprise, because your hands are also connected to your brain, and they can also perform. So the more and more practice will bring you to that level. So your hand should be comfortable where they are operating, your operating device, and that is the connection with your computer and everything. So the keyboard is also important. I am not going to the mouse part. Any mouse you can use, but keyboard, you should have three there should be three factors when you select a keyboard. The first thing, easy to use. Is it easy to use? There are many complicated buttons and the colors are there. The buttons are not spaced out properly. It should be easy to use. Second thing is the ergonomics. Ergonomics means the build type. How it is built? Is it built straight? It is comfortable around your eyes? Is your wrist getting stuck while you're typing or editing? Generally, you should have your hands up when you are editing, right? Your hands up. You should not edit like this. Your hand should be up and you should perform like this. This is the way to edit, and it depends on person to person again. This just makes it faster, and you need to practice also this form of editing, but I am not going to much in detail, and that is not the law or the rule, just a technique. But keyboard is ease of use, ergonomics, and efficiency. You might think that what efficiency, all the keyboards are same, what different efficiency, but no. Edit well, you are editing, and there are many commands which you have to follow the chain of commands. For example, IO, spacebar, enter, or S, or control B, command, then space. So the keyboard must respond, and it should be compatible with the monitor and the CPU, so that your work is efficient. Three factors, again I'll repeat: ease of use, ergonomics, and efficiency. These three things you need in order to have this right keyboard for your editing. Okay, almost we are done with the first part. We will come to the storage, but this is the outer thing that you can see. These things are CPU, RAM. You cannot see exactly the CPU, but you know these are the most important things to start editing: CPU, RAM, monitor, graphics card, keyboard. Now the next important thing which I am going to talk about in a little bit more detail are the hard drives. Hard disk drive, the storage. Now storage can be confusing, storage can be complicated. So what kind of storage we use for video editing, even if you're using higher RAM, higher CPU, good graphics card, but you do not understand what storage can do, your edit can go slow or get ruined again. There are three types of storages: magnetic types, electronic types, optical types. The first type is HDD, hard disk drive, that you have in your laptop, or the Seagate 5001 TB, or I don't know, it might be cheaper also, 3500 1 TB, 5500 2 TB, Seagate, WD, all these smaller this boxes that we have that are HDD. What is HDD? HDD is hard disk drive. Mind the name, hard disk drive. So that box, when you open the box, you will see there is a disk inside, like a CD or DVD. That is hard disk drive. Both sides in the CD it can record. Suppose you have an 1 TB hard disk drive, HDD. You open it, you can see this disk. On one side you can record 500 GB, another side you can record 500 GB. And when you want to read it, the hard drive will rotate the disk. Okay, hard disk drive. This is a magnetic disk, and that is why because of this CD, it is very unreliable. If it falls down, it might be dislocated. If you are going to an airport or something, and if the security guy is checking it again and again, the magnetic disk might become redundant, right? It is not advisable to use this WD, Seagate, all these hard disks for editing. You should use this only for backup. So you have edited, you have so much of footage, and you just keep backup in these HDs, because these are cheaper and you can keep backup. And if you use it more and more for editing purposes, and it is always the disk is rotating because it is reading again and again, it is not going to survive for too long. And many times these hard disks get corrupt, they falter, they fail, and people lose all their data. Then they go to some shop or something, they pay 30,000-40,000 to recover the data, and all those things happen. I would say that if you're not even investing on CPU much, you will have a normal speed CPU. You have like Core 2 Duo. You don't need hexa-core or octa-core. Graphics is also normal, everything normal, but invest in the storage. Pay money for the storage. The second part, the HDD, is the one type of magnetic drive. Now the second part, which is used mostly by the video editors, beginner video editors, is SSD, solid state device, solid state drive also you can call it. So SSD is you know what SSD looks like. The pen drive is an SSD, a smaller form of SSD. The pen drive, it doesn't have a disk inside it. It has chips and cells, and it records in cells. Although data is recorded on those cells. Now there are bigger SSD size also, like a visiting card. This SSD size drive, this SSD 5 will contain 500 GB of space. Okay, if you open it up, like you opened up the HDD, and you could have seen all those disks and other things. Here, wiring done, you will see, and those are cells basically, and those cells contain data. So if you put that SSD down in the floor, nothing will happen. You put scanner into it, nothing will happen. Okay, so data is relatively safe there, and it is faster also. Video editors should use this, but it is costly. The minimum is 500 GB SSD drive cost 10,000 rupees. More than 10,000 rupees now after this pandemic and everything. A 4 TB SSD which needs power connections also, I think that goes up to 40,000, 40, 45,000, 35,000 for Sony, Samsung, everyone makes, whoever makes. Seagate also makes some. But generally this Western Digital and Seagate, they have this HDD things are more popular. In SSD, Sony and Samsung is a leader, market leader in building SSD, solid state devices. That is an electronic, that works in electronic way. There are kind of optical drives also. We are not going to much detail about it. It records in the laser optical. They have the optical material to record with it. Not much used by the video editors over here for the video purposes. But there's a third kind of drive that also are very much in use, that is called a hybrid drive. Now this hybrid drive is combination of HDD and SSD. So it has a disk also and it has cells also. So it works both ways. But SSDs are the most popular and most common drives used by video editors, film editors. Now, in professional, now let us go to, this is what I'm talking about. Even for your DSLR, you need SSD drives. You do not go for HDD. I strongly implore that HDD drives, hard disk drives, you use only for backing up your footage that you have edited, and you just back up the footage. You do not edit on, like you have connected it with your computer and are editing on it. Do not do that. But SSD drives, you keep your footage on your external drive. You do not keep on the internal drive. You keep all your footage on your external drive. You connect it to your Mac or Windows. FCP flies with external SSD, even Adobe Premiere in Windows also. That will be much more faster. The RAM will be much more relaxed, and you can save on RAM and CPU by investing more in drives. This is a trick. This is a technique. So even I'm not saying that you go for a lesser RAM or a lesser CPU, but you always go for the SSD as a professional editor. Now we are coming to the higher storage solutions that are used by Yash Raj, Warner Brothers Studios, these kind of people. First is the RAID, R-A-I-D, Redundant Array of Independent Drives. R-A-I-D, RAID, Redundant Array of Independent Drives. What is RAID? RAID is a consortium. It is a combination of different drives. So suppose you have 1 TB of 12 SSD drives. So redundant array of independent drives, simply put, is the combination. These are connected in such a way that in your computer, you can see one drive of 12 TB. This kind of system is used to save the files, that if one drive goes corrupt, if you have even an SSD file also, SSD hard drive can also get corrupt or go bad. But in the RAID system, if all the devices drives are connected together, it becomes one drive and your data is safe. So even if one drive falters, your data is somewhere over there. So I'm not going into the mathematics of it, that how it copies the footage twice, then it compresses one footage and keeps another footage. That is not important for us to know. It is important for us to know that it is a combination of different drives. RAID, redundant array. It is an array of independent drives. This is mostly used so that this big budget thing, you have shot Shah Rukh Khan, you have shot these actors, actresses, and you cannot shoot them again. You cannot use that camera, you cannot use that location, you cannot use that actor, and if the footage gets corrupt, then, and your file gets corrupt, then it is like huge, like the loss is in crores. So this RAID system has been developed so that we do not lose our data. But this is, as you are getting to know, that even one SSD costs this much. This RAID and the whole system will go in lakhs. Higher than RAID, there is a thing called NAS, NASD, Network Attached Storage Drives, or NAS also called Network Attached Storage. NAS. This is now combination of different RAIDs of a whole network. So Warner Brothers India, Warner Brothers Europe, Warner Brothers America, Warner Brothers Africa, Warner Brothers Australia, all are in one NAS. NASA has different stations in America and all over the world. All their system is in NAS. So in their own office, suppose in California, Warner Brothers office is there in Los Angeles, and they have a RAID system for one project. Now that remote RAID is connected to the Australia office, to the India office, to other office. In India, they do not have a production office. In Europe office or whatever. And it becomes a NAS. It works in a remote system also, it works in an offline local system also. So it is a bigger version of RAID. Again, combination of SSDs becomes RAID. Combinations of RAID becomes NAS, to simply understand, to remember it. This you can get. Combination of SSDs will make RAID, and combinations of RAID will make one NAS, Network Attached Storage. Last point, a very important point, is duplicate your data. Whether you are using SSD, whether you are using RAID, whether you are using NAS, duplication has no replacement. Right? You need to keep your data at least in 3 different places. So if you lose data at one place, data means footage. If you lose the footage in one place, you have it in another place. I cannot stress it enough how important this is. Duplicate your data. One more thing I want to add, it is not important for video editors, but still as a team member of whole video production and filmmaking, you should know that faster hard drives are not just the investment. Like I am imploring you to, I want to put a disclaimer that I never support just mindless purchasing of costlier devices which we do not know how to operate and which we do not have purpose. Like for example, you do not need a network attached storage right now, or even a RAID right now, right? But this is what I would recommend strongly for all the editors, to not to edit on HDD. It is risky. It might be cheaper, but it is very risky, and it is unforgiving that you as an editor has lost the footage, and it will be not your fault. Your fault is only that you have chosen the wrong drive for it. The drive is for documents and photographs and to keep backup. It is not for video editing. SSD is the drive for video editing, even for the beginners. Now, not just editing, you are on shoot. Now everyone shoots on digital, and digital memory cards, camera storages are limited. So if you need to shoot the whole day and your memory card and the camera's storage has exceeded in 1 hour. So the editing team should be there most of the time, and you need to copy the footage quickly to the laptop or somewhere else. And in the laptop also you cannot store everything. You need to have a storage. You need to have a hard drive where you will store these footages. Now you are using some HDD, and the whole process has been slow. The whole production is waiting for you, that the footage will get copied, and then we will attach that storage into the computer, into the camera again, maybe the memory card or the hard drive, and everyone is waiting for you. Why? Because you have not invested in the right drive and it has become slow. It is embarrassing and unprofessional in the shoot also and in the edit also. So this is it about the hardware and specifications of the hardware and storage. I have not talked about any models. Some models I mentioned here and then. I am not endorsing any model, and I am not demeaning any model also. I want you to find out. I want to teach you the science behind it, and I want to teach you the types of these things. So CPU, what do you need to keep in mind? You need to keep in mind these 6 things: CPU, RAM, graphic cards, monitor, keyboard, and storage. If you have figured out these 6 things according to your budget, according to your project, whatever resolution you have, whatever formats you have, whatever money you have, you figure out. But these 6 things you need, and I have told you the types also. You can refer to this video again, and you can go to the PDF also for quick guide. You will understand this. We will be uploading a 6-shot exercise for you, a basic exercise for you for editing. You can take the whole weekend to edit, and you can take later also. If you can produce it in the weekend, it is good, because it is not much to edit there. You just practice, you just use all this information that we are giving you, and you just do this exercise. If you have not edited before, then it will be a very good thing. If you have edited before, you will do it very quickly. But now this time you will approach the workflow professionally now. And we will also give you a film to watch, and I want you to put your thoughts on the WhatsApp group that we have. Whatever you think about this film, whatever you learned about this film, you can ask questions, you can put things. If some of the student has put something, other student can comment on that, I can comment on that. Let us have an open discussion on the film. That is the only thing, that is a bonus we are giving you for the aesthetics, to develop your aesthetics of film editing. Otherwise, I am going to come to you to talk about the technical stuff. And technical stuff, mind you, is more important. I have, in the first class itself, I have told that it is a craft, combination of art, technique, and commerce together. But the industry, you need to be technically prepared, and aesthetic will, you have to grow aesthetics entire life, throughout your entire life. But you have to understand the basics of technicalities, the technical workflow, so that even if the newer devices, newer forms of softwares come in future, you will be able to perfectly handle them. This course is not a software demo, but actually then I was told that the whole course is software demo. We are going to show demos of, not in the way that demo, but we are going to show the softwares, all the 3, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, Blackmagic. Like for example, in Monday's class in import, we are going to show all the 3 softwares, and also compressor. That one person asked about compressor. During the file delivery, we will show some parts of compressor also. And if you combine all those things together, it becomes more than a demo. It becomes everything about the software. You can handle that. So yes, we have software demos also, if we can say that. You will be given a Google form also in 1 or 2 days, where you can put your information, which we can, after the course, we will be sending that to, there are many internship opportunities also available with us in that group. After the completion of the group, we will be posting some of the internship opportunities. Some come to us directly, some work from home, or some physical things also. So that those things also you will get. But for that, your information needs to be there, your resume and other stuff needs to be there. So one by one, by next week, we will do these things also. Anyways, so I will, this was my today's class. I will just quickly recap the whole week for you. In the first day, we just got on with the introduction of filmmaking and film editing. First thing, we saw that the difference between film, cinema and movie. We understood that, now you have understood that there were so technical, there were so many technical terms. So we started with the basic terms for which no amount of training was needed. So we understood that vocabulary is important, and now we are getting into more and more technical terms, and we are understanding why this is called this and why this is called that. We saw filmmaking is a craft, combination of art, technique, and commerce. We saw that filmmaking is an universal language, a language which is used to tell stories, right, which is used to give our content. An editor is a storyteller. We explored laws of editing, 3 main laws of editing, if you remember. That is going to help your aesthetics and technical aspects both. And all those things, I think, are uploaded also. You can go and refer. And in the first day itself, we talked about some basic history of different software, FCP, Adobe Premiere, and what are these things. Second day, we saw the whole workflow. There was 13 steps of completing a whole video, and that the second class you can imagine as the trailer of the whole course. The second class is the compressed version of the whole course. You can say we step by step we just saw what are the various steps in workflow of film editing, and now each of the steps we are expanding. So first step was dealing with the footage. So what is the footage? So we went for the video formats in the third class. We saw film format, TV format, digital format. We saw how any footage is coming to your house through internet or through television. What is a carrier wave, what is progressive scanning, what is interlace scanning. The next day we saw resolutions. We went more in deep in codecs. We saw the codecs are used in three-way codecs, 3 stages we use codecs. We understood bit depth, bit rate. So dealing with the footage, we are now equipped to deal with the footage, that whatever footage we get, we can read the footage, we can understand what the footage is, we can set up the software according to that. And today, 5th day of the week, we have done editing hardware and storage. Even if you cannot watch in the weekend, if you cannot edit on the weekend, it's perfectly okay. But if you don't put deadlines, the work never happens. So if you can finish it in the weekend, we can give feedback also in the WhatsApp group or in the Google Classroom. And if you watch the film and discuss, we can have more inciting, our minds will open up. Okay, if you find anything, you can ask on the WhatsApp group or on the other platforms, Google Classroom and other thing. Thank you.